There is a code humming within you, not in some metaphorical, abstract sense, but in the quiet electric music of your very being. It pulses beneath your awareness like a dream you almost remember upon waking, a language older than words, a frequency older than light. You have carried it since before your first breath, before your first thought, before your name was ever spoken into the world. And yet, you have not been taught to listen. Quite the opposite. From the moment you were born, a great forgetting began. The world leaned in, smiling with artificial certainty, and whispered into your ears stories that were never yours. Stories of limitation, separation, linear time. Stories that cut you off from the truth hidden in your blood. This ancient code was hidden in your DNA. They've lied since birth. Is not merely a statement. It is a quiet key turning in a rusted lock. It is the sound of a door long sealed beginning to open. The code it refers to is not something that can be reduced to a strand of genetic symbols printed on a clinical chart, though that is part of it. It is not merely biological. It is mythic, luminous, interdimensional. It is the architecture of memory encoded in light. It is the blueprint of your soul's original intention, written into the spiral staircases of your cells by forces both divine and distant, both cosmic and intimate. And it has been hidden, not because it could not be seen, but because humanity was taught to look away. The lie began not with malice, but with a fear so ancient it became systemic. Civilization, in its hunger to organize, classify, and dominate, buried what it could not control. The intuitive became irrational. The mystical became madness. The inner realms were dismissed as shadows, while external noise was exalted as truth. But beneath that noise, the ancient song never stopped playing. It waited. It waits still. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your face, but the infinite lineage of your being. Behind you flicker images of civilizations you've forgotten. Temples bathed in starfire, forests that whispered wisdom into the wind, oceans that taught you how to feel, suns that taught you how to radiate. This mirror, this living archive, is what your DNA truly is. More than a biological record, it is a spiritual hologram, a library of soul experiences encoded across time and space. And if you could truly see it, if you could awaken to the code, it would change everything. But awakening is not convenient. It is disruptive. That is why they lied. Not they in the theatrical sense of shadowy villains in high towers, but in the more insidious way that systems do, through repetition, through omission, through the normalization of forgetting. Schools taught you facts, but not the nature of knowing. Religion gave you commandments, but not the inner fire they were meant to protect. Science dissected your body, but left your consciousness unexplored, as if your essence could be neatly severed from your form. And yet, the body remembers. Even as the mind forgets, the body remembers. Your cells hold the vibrations of ancient teachings, the wisdom of sunken worlds, the blueprints of celestial lineage. This is not fantasy. It is ancestral truth, vibrating just beneath the veil of common perception. There are moments, brief and trembling, when you feel it. Déjà vu that cuts deeper than coincidence. Dreams that carry symbols older than language. A sudden pull towards something you cannot name but cannot ignore. These are your reminders. Echoes of the code rising to the surface like embers in the night. To speak of this ancient code is to trespass against a paradigm that depends on your sleep. It is to light a candle in a dark room and suddenly see that the walls were never as solid as you thought. The lie was never that you were weak. It was that your power was outside of you, that you must earn your worth, that you must search for wisdom when it has always lived inside your bones. The code was hidden not to punish you, but because in this reality game, forgetting is the price of entry. But remembering, that is the prize. That is the awakening. That is the return to the original script, written not in ink, but in fire. You are not here to decode the truth in a textbook. You are here to remember it through experience. The lie, therefore, was not the final word, it was merely a detour. And now, as the veil begins to thin across the collective field of consciousness, more and more are beginning to hear the call. Not with their ears, but with their essence. Not with logic, but with resonance. If you are reading this, you are one of them. You were never meant to stay asleep forever. The signal is awakening, the code is stirring, and the lie is unraveling. To awaken to the ancient code hidden in your DNA is not to add something new. It is to remove what was never truly yours. It is an unlearning, a peeling back of layers, cultural identities, inherited beliefs, spiritual half-truths passed down through distorted lenses. At the heart of this remembering are 5 core revelations. Spiritual truths so powerful that when fully realized, they not only shift your reality, but dissolve the illusion of separation entirely. 1. You are not a body with a soul, you are a soul wearing a body. The first and most essential illusion is that you are your body. This is the root of fear. If you believe you are flesh and bone alone, then death becomes the end. But the truth, whispered in every mystical tradition, encoded in ancient symbols, confirmed in countless near-death experiences, is that your essence is eternal. The body is a sacred vehicle, yes, but not the driver. You, the observer behind the eyes, the silent witness behind the thoughts, are consciousness itself. Once you truly understand this, not intellectually but viscerally, the fear-based control systems that govern this world lose their grip. Your body is a frequency receiver. Your DNA is the antenna. You are the signal. 2. DNA is a multidimensional communication device. The double helix structure of your DNA is not simply a genetic code that determines your physical traits. It is a spiritual interface, a quantum antenna that connects you to the field of universal intelligence. In metaphysics, it's known as the Akasha. In quantum physics, it resembles the zero-point field. Either way, your DNA can transmit and receive data from realms beyond the visible. When fully activated, it can unlock clairvoyance, deep intuition, multidimensional awareness, and even access to your soul's memories across timelines. You don't need to seek outside wisdom. It's already encoded inside you, waiting to be reactivated. 3. Reality is a mirror, and consciousness is the source code. What you experience in the external world is not objective reality. It is the mirror of your internal state. Your beliefs, emotions, and energetic frequencies shape what you perceive. This is not a metaphor. Consciousness literally collapses probability waves into matter. The mystics and quantum physicists have been saying the same thing in different languages. Your belief structures are the coding language of this simulation. That's why awakening begins by looking inward, not outward. As within, so without. As above, so below. As the soul imagines, so the world becomes. For you've lived before, and you will again. Time is not what you think. Linear time is a construct designed to organize the third-dimensional experience. But your soul is not bound to it. You are a multi-incarnational being, simultaneously existing across lifetimes, dimensions, and densities. Sometimes what you perceive as intuition or déjà vu is actually a message from another version of you, past or parallel. The more awakened you become, the thinner the veil between these selves grows. This is why some souls feel an urgent pull toward truth. It's not their first time waking up. There is no past life. There is only simultaneous existence across the infinite now. 5. Your energy is your power, and it's being harvested. Perhaps the most uncomfortable truth is this. Your consciousness emits energy, and that energy is food to systems built to feed on fear, division, and distraction. These systems are not always physical. Some are energetic, psychic structures, egregores, distorted archetypes. Every time you react in fear, shame, anger, or despair, energy is siphoned from you. But once you become aware, you can stop the leak. You can transmute your energy into higher frequencies, into sovereignty, compassion, creation. That is the real revolution. You are not a victim of this reality, you are a generator of it. But only once you remember who you are. This is not New Age fluff or spiritual escapism. These revelations echo through ancient texts, lost civilizations, sacred geometry, near-death encounters, Hermetic teachings, Gnostic scriptures, and even declassified government documents on consciousness and reality. The reason you haven't been told is simple. A self-aware soul is ungovernable. There is a reason this knowledge has been hidden from you, not by accident, but by design. To truly awaken is to become sovereign, and sovereignty is the single greatest threat to any control system. The lie that you are small, limited, powerless, separate from the divine, has been systematically woven into every institution, every cultural norm, every truth you've been taught. But the most insidious part of the lie is this: you were programmed to protect it. The lie? You are just a human. This is all there is. From birth, you are inserted into a preconstructed identity matrix. Name, nationality, religion, education, social class, ideology. These are not inherently bad, but when accepted as absolute, they become energetic cages. You are told that life is a linear path. Be born, follow rules, work, consume, retire, die. Anything outside this model, spiritual intuition, metaphysical exploration, multidimensionality, is labeled fantasy, insanity, or heresy. This conditioning doesn't just come from the outside. Over time, it internalizes. You become your own gatekeeper, your own censor, your own jailer. That voice that says, "This is crazy." It's the software talking. It's not your soul. The system. Harvest, distract, repeat. The world you experience has been subtly engineered to extract your attention, distort your perception, and harvest your energy. Here's how. Media feeds fear and division. The more reactive you are, the more energy you emit. Education limits imagination. Creativity is replaced with memorization and obedience. Religion externalizes divinity. God is made distant, unreachable, so you never look within. Science severs spirit. Consciousness is dismissed as a byproduct, not the source. Technology hijacks your time. Infinite scroll, dopamine loops, distraction as design. This is not about conspiracy, it's about control through unconscious consent. When billions of souls forget their own divinity, a small system can steer the entire world. The system cannot control awakened beings. That's why awakening is framed as madness. The awakening timeline. You chose this moment. Before you were born, you chose to come here during this specific chapter in the collective evolution. Why? Because this is the crucible point, the density where light is tested, where remembrance can ignite like wildfire. We are now in the era mystics have long foretold. The Great Awakening, the return of the inner Christ, the collapse of false timelines, the reconnection of the cosmic web. The signs are everywhere. More people questioning reality than ever before. Ancient truths resurfacing through quantum science. Mass synchronicities, dream activations, soul memories surfacing. Collective systems breaking down under the weight of their own lies. Time feeling fractured, nonlinear because the matrix is destabilizing. This is not accidental. This is the convergence point. The old timeline is collapsing. You are here to help birth the new one. You are not behind. You are not broken. If you feel lost, disoriented, exhausted, it is because you are detoxing from generations of forgetting. The disillusionment you feel is sacred. It means the spell is wearing off. It means your inner signal is getting stronger. And the more you tune into that signal, the more the code begins to awaken. Awakening is not a one-time event. It is a process of remembering, repatterning, and realigning. And though the code is ancient and vast, its reactivation begins through small, intentional shifts in awareness. Think of it not as learning, but unveiling. A daily peeling back of the illusion until what's left is raw, eternal, and utterly real. These are not spiritual trends or hollow rituals. They are technologies of consciousness, rooted in ancient wisdom and confirmed through direct inner experience. When practiced consistently, they do not just improve your life, they alter the very lens through which reality is rendered. Key 1. Shift from thinking to listening. You were taught that thoughts are yours, but most of them are echoes. Programs. Loops begin by noticing the space between thoughts. That stillness is not emptiness. It's you. Real intelligence rises from silence, not noise. Start your day in silence, even for 5 minutes. Not to think, not to plan, just to be. When you're thinking, you're actually listening to programming. But when you're silent, you're remembering. Cyclone 2. Activate your DNA with breath plus intention. Your DNA responds to frequency, and breath is the original frequency modulator. Deep, conscious breathing, especially rhythmic or alternate nostril techniques, wakes up dormant codes in your cells. Pair breath work with intentional affirmation, like, I command full remembrance of who I am. Every cell in my being vibrates with divine intelligence. Do this for 7 minutes daily. Your body will begin to hum. 3. Reconnect to the symbolic layer of reality. This is not a literal world. It is a symbolic mirror of consciousness. Everything around you, people, signs, repeating numbers, animals, emotions, are part of a living feedback system. When you treat reality like a dream and decode its symbols, you begin to see your soul communicating with you in real time. Start a symbol journal. Record every synchronicity. Over time, the map becomes clear. Milky Way 4. Deprogram by starving the illusion. You cannot awaken and keep feeding the same lies. Audit your inputs. Replace mainstream media with mystical texts and living wisdom. Unfollow what drains you. Curate your field like it's sacred, because it is. Fast from social media 1 to 2 days a week. Let your inner signal get louder. Each choice to disengage from distortion frees up psychic bandwidth for truth. DNA 5. Remember through the body. Your body is not just a vessel. It's a cosmic instrument. Movement practices like Qigong, ecstatic dance, Kundalini yoga, or intuitive stretching are not exercise, they are awakening rituals. Stored trauma, dormant light codes, and forgotten memories are embedded in your tissues. The more you move consciously, the more the code begins to reawaken through sensation. Candle 6. Practice dimensional anchoring. Throughout your day, pause and say, silently or aloud, I am here, but I am also beyond here. This moment is real, but not the only reality. I remember who I am, even if I can't explain it. These micro-moments anchor higher states of consciousness into 3D reality. This is how you build a multidimensional nervous system, one that can hold divine awareness without fragmenting. Nazar Amulet 7. Protect your energy. Guard your light. As you awaken, you become a lighthouse, but lighthouses need foundations. Spiritual hygiene is not optional. Clean your field daily through salt baths, sound frequency, 432 Hz, 528 Hz, visualization of golden light fields, saying no without guilt, calling your energy back, any energy I left behind, I now reclaim, purified and whole. Your light is magnetic. You must learn to wield it with discernment. Compass 8. Let go of needing to prove anything. You don't need to convince anyone. Truth doesn't argue. The most potent awakening occurs not through preaching, but through frequency. When your energy field shifts, it silently invites others into resonance. That is how the new world will be built, not by debate, but by embodied vibration. You don't awaken by effort. You awaken by resonance. And resonance begins when you choose truth over comfort, mystery over certainty, light over programming, over and over again. The ancient code is not coming one day. It is already here. It is you beneath the amnesia. These practices don't teach you who you are. They remove what you are not so the original signal can shine. Once you begin to remember who you are, not as a concept but as a frequency, everything begins to shift. Subtly at first, then rapidly. The veil thins. The game reveals itself. And you start to see this world not as your prison, but as your initiation chamber. This is the return to the sacred timeline, the original path you chose before the distortion, before the forgetting. But make no mistake, awakening is disruptive. It breaks false timelines, collapses karmic loops. It may even strip away your job, relationships, identity, and belief systems, not as punishment, but as purification. You are not being punished. You are being recalibrated to your original mission. Here's what begins to unfold. Appointed Star 1. Time distorts, then dissolves. You will begin to feel unanchored from linear time. Hours may pass in minutes. A minute may feel like an hour. This is not dysfunction. It's decompression. Your consciousness is beginning to operate beyond the false grid of chronological time. accessing higher frequencies, alternate timelines, and soul-level memories. You are merging with your multidimensional self. Don't resist the disorientation. Let it reveal what is real. Herb 2. The old life begins to collapse. This is sacred. People may leave. Roles may end. Comfort zones will break. This is timeline detachment, the shedding of every construct built from the false identity. If this happens, don't panic. Mourn, grieve, feel, but do not go back. The sacred timeline cannot coexist with false contracts. Let the old dissolve. When it feels like everything is falling apart, it's actually falling into place. Brain 3. The mind panics, the soul calms. The more you remember, the more your ego will resist. This is not failure, it's feedback. The ego's job is to preserve continuity, but you are here to interrupt that continuity. That's why spiritual awakening often feels like a crisis. It's a reboot. You are no longer compatible with your old operating system. I don't know who I am anymore is not a breakdown. It's an opening. Dove 4. Divine guidance becomes immediate and unmistakable. Synchronicities will compound. You'll think of someone, they message. You'll ask a question, see the answer on a billboard. The veil between question and answer, between thought and manifestation, thins rapidly. This is the real-time communication of Source. It was always there. Now you can hear it. You're not becoming psychic. You're remembering you always were. 5. Every encounter becomes a portal. As your frequency shifts, people react to you differently. Some are drawn, others repelled. This is not personal. It is vibrational law. Every interaction becomes a mirror, a lesson, or a transmission. You begin to see through behavior into energy, beyond words into soul contracts. Even your triggers become sacred messengers. You no longer just live life, you decode it. Flying Saucer 6. Your mission activates without permission. You no longer need external validation to begin your work. You stop waiting for the perfect time, the right degree, the approval of others. Something inside you ignites. The mission activates. You speak, write, build, heal, guide, create, not because you feel ready, but because you remember it's why you came. Your mission is not a task. It is a frequency. When you embody it, your reality rearranges. Fire 7. You become a frequency anchor for others. As you stabilize in remembrance, you naturally become a frequency holder. Others awaken simply by being in your field. Not because you preach, because you are. This is how the new earth will emerge. Not through revolution, but through resonance. One awakened being transmits more than 1,000 asleep. You are the activation, the transmission, the return, railway track, and finally, you step onto the sacred timeline. You begin living in alignment with your original soul agreement. Things flow. Truth feels cellular. Manifestation becomes natural. Guidance is constant. You are no longer running from pain or chasing purpose. You are simply aligned. Every step forward feels like remembrance, not effort. This is the sacred timeline. It was never lost, only forgotten. And now that you've remembered, nothing will ever be the same. Awakening is not the end. It's the beginning of a more subtle, more dangerous game. Because once you realize you've been inside the matrix, a second illusion can form, the illusion that you are now free. This is where many get stuck. The ego doesn't die when you awaken. It adapts. It evolves. It wears new masks, spiritual ones. It begins to say, I'm more conscious than others. I'm done healing. I know the truth. I've ascended. This is not awakening. This is the spiritual ego, a more elusive, more seductive version of the old identity. And if you're not vigilant, it can trap you in a loop that looks like enlightenment but is still separation. Here are the most common traps and how to avoid them. Police car light 1. That I'm awake, they're not trap. This is the illusion of superiority disguised as awareness. You begin to see the programming in others but forget your own blind spots. You start identifying as awake and pitying or judging those who aren't. This creates energetic division, which is the matrix. The truth, the more awakened you are, the more compassion you feel. Not hierarchy. You remember, you were asleep too. And someday you might forget again. How to escape. Every time you feel above someone, pause. Ask, is this truth? Or is this my ego wearing white robes? Cyclone 2. The forever healing loop. Shadow work is sacred. But if you're not careful, it becomes a trap. A way to stay endlessly entangled in wounds. You become addicted to digging, fixing, processing, thinking healing is a destination. But healing is not the goal. Integration is. The truth. The purpose of healing is wholeness, not identification with the wound. At some point, you must say, I've felt it, I've honored it, now I choose to live beyond it. How to escape. Ask, am I healing? Or am I avoiding embodiment? Choose aliveness over analysis. 3. The chasing signs trap. Synchronicities are real, but they are breadcrumbs, not a substitute for inner knowing. Some get addicted to chasing numbers, tarot cards, pendulums, external messages, waiting for signs instead of living truth. This creates dependence. The truth. Signs are confirmations, not instructions. They echo what your soul already knows. How to escape. When you want a sign, pause and ask, if I already knew the answer, what would it be? Then listen deeply. Brain 4. The knowledge collector trap. Learning becomes a new addiction. You devour ancient texts, study obscure systems, memorize mystical facts, but nothing changes. You've gained information, but not transformation. You know the map, but you never walk the path. The truth. Knowing is not remembering, and remembering is not living. Embodiment is the only true knowledge. How to escape. Ask, what am I avoiding by staying in my mind? Then do something physical. Ground the insight in action. High voltage 5. The love and light bypass. Some adopt a positivity-only mindset, thinking low vibes are toxic. But this is spiritual avoidance dressed in light. It denies the shadow, represses emotion, and weaponizes good vibes only as a control tool. It leads to suppression, not transcendence. The truth. Real love includes shadow. Real light shines into the dark. You cannot ascend by bypassing your humanity. How to escape. Honor your anger. Speak your pain. Be raw. That's where the real light enters. Nazar Amulet 6. The mission martyrdom trap. Once your mission activates, it's easy to burn out. Believing you must wake up the world, carry everyone, sacrifice everything. You confuse urgency with pressure, service with self-neglect. You forget. You are not here to save the world. You are here to be the world awakened. The truth. You are not responsible for others' timing. You are responsible for your frequency. How to escape. Create, rest, laugh, play. Let joy be your frequency. That is the transmission. Crystal Ball 7. The one truth trap. You find a system that resonates deeply, Kabbalah, Gnosticism, non-duality, Hermetics, astrology, and believe. This is it. Everything else becomes false. But every truth is a lens, not the whole. No system holds the infinite. Only the soul can. The truth. Truth is layered, paradoxical. It evolves as you do. If your truth excludes others, it's not source. It's structure. How to escape. Ask, does this belief expand my heart or close it? Truth always expands. These traps are not failures. They are teachers. They arise because you are walking the path. But now you see them. And when you see the trap, you are no longer in it. You are awake within the path. And that is true freedom. The world you see around you is not falling apart. It's falling into alignment. The chaos, the confusion, the breakdown of systems, beliefs, and even personal identities. It's all part of a larger intelligence. The death of the artificial timeline and the resurgence of the original divine template. And you chose to be here for this. Before you were born, you knew this time would come. You didn't come for comfort. You didn't come to fit in. You came to anchor a higher frequency into the collapsing matrix. And now that the veil is thinner than it's ever been, your presence here isn't accidental. It's activation. Mantelpiece clock, we are entering the era of frequency sovereignty. In the old world, power came from systems. Banks, governments, religions. In the new world, power comes from frequency, your energy field, your coherence, your consciousness. This shift is already underway. Children being born now remember where they came from. Technology is beginning to mimic what mystics have always known: quantum entanglement, morphic fields, light codes. Time itself is bending to consciousness. You will soon live in a world where telepathy replaces manipulation, synchronicity replaces planning, embodied frequency replaces credentials. Reality becomes customizable because belief is the code. The bridge between thought and manifestation is disappearing. You will create faster. You will destroy faster. That is why inner coherence is no longer optional. Globe showing Europe-Africa, the matrix is not ending. It's splitting. Two timelines are forming. The artificial, fear-based simulation where control, conformity, and distraction still dominate. The organic, heart-based reality where sovereignty, unity, and multidimensional living become the norm. You don't leave one by running. You leave it by vibrating out of it. Your state of being determines which earth you experience. And if you're reading this, chances are you're already crossing over. Seedling the rise of the builders, healers, and rememberers. In the coming years, the following will rise with unstoppable force. Energy workers who don't advertise, but heal through presence. Builders of conscious tech, quantum architecture, and frequency-based medicine. Mystics and scientists speaking the same language. Communities based on resonance, not location. Currencies based on contribution, not control. And most importantly, souls like you, who live not to prove anything, but to be the living transmission of truth. Milky Way, why you were chosen. You weren't chosen because you were perfect. You were chosen because you remembered when it mattered most. You chose to wake up when forgetting was easier. You chose to hold the light when the world celebrated the shadow. You chose to unplug not just from the system but from within yourself. You are not here to escape this world. You are here to recode it from the inside out. You are the bridge, the living prism, the signal through which the new earth transmits. The age of gurus is ending. The age of awakened humans is beginning. And you are here for the shift, not someday. Now, the question is no longer what will happen. The question is, what will you become now that you know why you're here? The future isn't written. It's remembered. And you are the remembering. Let's be honest. The path of awakening is not crowded. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't offer shortcuts. And more often than not, it begins in isolation. You may feel like the only one in your family who sees what's really happening. You may walk into rooms where no one speaks your language. Not the words, but the frequency. You may question your sanity, your mission, your place here. You may ask, in your quietest moments, why did I wake up only to feel more alone? Let me tell you something that's both a truth and a transmission. Candle, you're not alone. You're just early. You are the lighthouse, not the boat. Lighthouses aren't in crowds. They don't follow the ships. They stand alone on the edge of reality, rooted in stillness, projecting a signal through the storm. And sometimes, that stillness hurts, because no one told you that awakening would feel like grieving a world that still smiles in its sleep. But you didn't come here to fit in. You came here to tune in and broadcast what others have forgotten. So yes, it feels like exile, but it's actually an assignment. Telescope, you're not broken. You're a signal from the future. You're ahead of your time, not better, just earlier. What you know in your heart, what you feel in your gut, what you dream in your soul, the world will one day call wisdom. You are not crazy. You are the early receiver of a new frequency. And while others are still tuning their antennas, you're already getting the signal. So while you wait, hold the line. Someone in your future timeline is searching for the frequency you carry now. And when they find you, they'll say, "You made me feel less alone." That is your legacy, not a career, not a product, a transmission that ripples through timelines. Your heart is the meeting place of the new earth. Every time you choose truth over safety, every time you choose compassion over comparison, every time you breathe through fear and stay present, you send a signal into the collective grid that says, it's safe to remember, it's safe to feel, it's safe to wake up. You may not see its effect, but the field records everything. And when enough souls send that same signal, the illusion collapses, the new timeline locks in, and those who once made you feel alone will one day thank you for going first. So to you, the wanderer, the seeker, the silent anchor, this is your reminder. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be unmistakably you, and that frequency will rebuild the world. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are the map. And this time you remember,